Hello YouTube and welcome back to GrunfWorks. This is episode 28 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration. And in previous episode we have finally unlocked enough science points to be able to unlock the secrets of the nuclear propulsion. So I'm going here with the Xenon rocketry and finally unlocking the NERVA LVN atomic rocket. So just quickly checking out anything else, but this is the engine that I want above all. So yeah, let us just continue with that one. And we have another 200 science, which I want to use for servos and going into robotics, because we will need infernal robotics. And also I'm thinking 250, I want to research VTOL because we get some really cool parts from the QuizTech Aero package, which would allow us to make VTOL airplanes. So 117 to research, and I'm thinking researching a little bit more sturdier wheels, which leaves us at 42 research. Wow, when you get to higher levels, this research goes so quickly. Okay, however, that being said, let us do some upgrades in terms of, upgrades. And we have 2 build points per second, SPH2 build points per second. So let us upgrade a little bit of our R&D. So as we're building more and more sophisticated craft, we will be getting back some science. And once you actually research the tree, then you can reassign these points at some point later. You just have to save, I think, a couple of points. Okay, let us go now towards the Jool Probe assembly. And I'll be showing it a bit time accelerated, and we'll have a brief test just to see that it would work, and I think I'll probably call it for this episode. We'll see how we are with time. Okay, so using a smaller probe, but the pillar of everything should be rocket motor, the bigger science tank, and the NERVA. So I'm kind of thinking back and forth between and here this was a 0.90, so NERVA wasn't using the liquid fuel only, it was using liquid fuel and oxidizer, obviously. So just now reaction wheel, and I want to put more science containers because I have full intention of returning this probe from Jool, like the one from Eve. So this is the first generation of probes that will go there and back in hope of returning as much science as we can get, and then later we will be sending manned missions onwards once we get this initial data. I'm thinking of these probes like, remote probes that will be going in and testing how feasible is the interplanetary space flight for the actual Kerbal. So now I'm just putting all kinds of one-time experiments and also blending them with the repeatable ones. So obviously I want to get as many repeatable ones as possible and then fill the blanks with the non-repeatable ones like mystery goo and science base, etc., etc. So it will not yield us complete set of science, but should give us pretty decent amount of science, because I planned on high orbit around Jool, low orbit around Jool, and then I will not be doing landed at Jool, if that's what you're asking. But yeah, and we cannot do it because we're playing with remote tech and time delay, and that would just be insane. I've opted for the nuclear engine because it has a little bit more thrust than the older engines, but we can still remote control it using the probe, and I don't want to be aero braking around Jool. I want to stop using regular fuel. So, okay, assembling our main stack. I want to have these girders here, on top of which I will have the newly unlocked big communications dish at some point, because the regular one just wouldn't cut it. And I decided, since this will be doing a re-entry and we will be putting some parachutes on it, some radial ones here on the top, for the return to Kerbal, I really want to make sure that it's not too heavy. So that means once we're back and sure that we have been aero captured around Kerbal, I will activate this decoupler and basically ditch the Nerva and the fuel tank. So yeah, here's the big communications dish that we will be using to communicate back to Kerbal. And I will be putting 2 more. I'm a little bit concerned that I might not always have the visibility towards the satellite, but then again, these smaller antennas should provide me with some connectivity along the route. And actually I was first thinking adding 3, but then again I don't need 3. I have 3 communication satellites capable of maybe reaching Jool, and I will have 3 of them which I will launch after this probe using the same big antenna. So I will have some redundancy, hopefully. I don't have the capability to launch 3 big antennas, so the big one will be pointing back to the actual satellite. Okay, so now I'm putting some RTGs because our scientists back at the KSC have calculated that we will be very far from the sun, which means our solar panels will be grossly inefficient. So we have to find alternative sources of energy, and this is why I was holding off on the sending probe to Jool before I actually have the technology capable of doing so. So yes, here is me just kiting all of the remote tech antennas, and at the time of this construction my fuse box, which I'm constantly complaining about, still wasn't working properly. But in the next episode I have replaced it with an older version, and I'm kind of hoping it will work. So here I'm just posting some external tanks, trying to see how much delta V I will get. 5,200. It's not too shabby, but then again, why? Why take the smaller tanks when I could be taking the bigger ones? I'm just trying to figure out how much more delta V I would get. 5.8, and if I put 2 of those big ones, what do I get then? 7.2. Well, that's more like it. I actually, since I won't be aero braking, I'll need every meter of delta V that I can get. And thrust to weight is 0.36 with the 2, which is, well, not the world's best delta V, but it's thrust to weight, but it's still decent. And 0.76 once I ditch these 2 tanks, so it should be decent enough. So now I'm just trying to find a fairing that will actually fit all of these, and I'm trying with a 3.75, but the 3.75 simply doesn't cut it in terms of these 2 external fuel tanks. So I've decided to go with the biggest one that I could muster at this point in time, which is the 3.75 expanded tank. And that one should be big enough. This means that my rocket will be huge, but well, I hopefully have enough technology and engines hopefully unlocked to be able to put this thing into the orbit in the first place. And I really wanted to use the fairings because, I mean, yeah, it looks cool. So putting up a probe core, that would hopefully mean that we can down this stage back. Putting the the reaction wheels and putting a mainsail, and now I'm trying to realize, okay, I only have 0.89 thrust to weight on the mainsail, which is not the best choice, but now I'm trying to figure out, so what shall I put down there? Maybe some adapters. I don't still have the big ones because I haven't unlocked the construction parts for the stations yet. So that would be probably my next priority. So 0.89. Well, it might be good enough assuming that I add in some more liquid fuel tanks and thrusters. So I simply said, okay, I will add these. What if I put it like this? Then I'll get 1.53 delta V, but my rocket looks really ridiculous. Yeah. But still not enough in terms of delta V for the first stage. And this at this point I'm 4.5, which should be enough to get me there. So now I'm just putting in the actual fins. And I will be putting the fuel tanks or the rocket boosters that would hopefully take me up. So, and at this point I realize, well, okay, maybe that could work. 2.17, thrust limiting it to 1.8. I realize that it looks a little bit ridiculous, but it is pretty sleek and should be fairly aerodynamic. So let us just strut the top parts so they don't wobble, because, well, they're a little bit bigger, wider, and they're connected through a tiny so yeah, more struts, standard Kerbal construction technique. Just now fixing my staging. And let us simulate the vessel, because I want to make sure that this bad boy can get into orbit. So I'm just applying full thrust until I get to typically 200-300 meters per second, and then I just dial it down until the SRBs go out. Thrust to weight so far looks good enough. 2.48, and now at 1.30, which is a little bit on lowish on the side, but should be more than enough to get us into the atmosphere. So all in all, I think that getting to the atmosphere, getting to the orbit shouldn't be too big of a problem. So let us now test. I want to test everything up to the point of burning with nervas to see how does it look like all together. And I also want to test, obviously, the remote tech connectivity parts, because that is the most common mistake that I make. I usually mess up somewhere along the connectivity path, which means my mission becomes scrap even before it began. So, burning now for the apoapsis of 74, 75, so of 100 I'm hoping to achieve. $100. There we go. So now we'll make the circularization burn. Alright. Cool. So let us point towards the maneuver node. I'm pretty sure we can ditch the fairings. So yeah, let's get rid of that. And let us, we don't have solar panels, so we don't need to extrude them, but we need to extrude our communitron, which we did. Okay. Just going up, and I realize at this point my rocket is insanely dark and I really want to add some lights on it. So once I go and end the simulation, I'll make sure to add some lights to the rocket, simply because it looks much cooler anyway when you have some lights. Yeah, now burning for the orbit. Looks promising so far. And now at this point I want to make sure that I detach this and that I can burn using the Nerva. So let's see. This one has the local control, which is very nice, because here I still have the connectivity, and then I lost the connection because I realized I have never attached the communitron to that to the bottom part, lower stage. So here I'm now just opening my communication satellites, because communication dishes, because I don't want them to be clipping into each other. So let us just see how it looks like. Well, yeah, that could work. Why not? Looks plausible anyway. And the battery is draining, which means we would need more power generation. Okay. Well, you see, this is the point of this test, to identify these problems. And at this point, my fuse box is, as you can see, completely bogus, because it says that I have ample of power generation and that my drain is minimalistic, which is completely wrong. So, yeah. And now I'm just kind of burning. Obviously, when I'm burning, our batteries are being recharged, so I wanted to check the staging, and it looks fine. From my perspective, I'm pretty much happy with the results, so it's all about taking this feedback, which we have gotten, and applying to use the fixes. So, with that in mind, let us fix the few most crucial stages at a time. So we'll make a Mark 1B, because we're making a revision, and in that revision we want to be adding some more power generation stuff. So I'm thinking some RTGs, a couple more, and I'm thinking some bigger ones, hopefully. Okay, so let's see where I can add them. Can I just add them here, like 2 of them here? That shouldn't affect our delta V tremendously, but when it comes to power generation, these are the ones using near future electrical, so we unlock them, might as well use them. Okay, so that fixes our power generation. Then we have to fix, what else? We have to fix our connectivity, I think, for the bottom stage. I'm just trying to figure out how much are these guys consuming, because I'm a little bit still skeptical if that should be enough, but hopefully it should. The other RTGs are providing a massive amount of electric charge, so hopefully we should be cool. Okay, so now I'm just thinking, well, if everything goes bad, let us just slap a couple more solar panels, because, yeah, solar panels, why not? If push comes to shove, it doesn't hurt to have at least a couple of additional solar panels. They will be grossly ineffective, but then again, they are just needed there for support reasons anyway. And now I'm making sure that I put the action groups, because usually what happens to me is I think, yeah, power generation and consumption are in balance, that's all fine, and then I press the time acceleration. What happens then if my consumption is even by a fraction higher than my generation? Everything, the charge goes bye-bye, and I lose control of the ship. So now I'm just fixing the connectivity for the bottom stage. I have hidden the Communitron 16 in the fairing casing for the bottom stage, and put it in the same action group as the initial one. So when I pop the Communitrons, both of them should come up, and if I separate, I should hopefully retain control over both craft. That being said, I think it should be pretty much everything. I'm just kind of thinking, what else, and I realize I forgot the main thing, the lighting. So, let us just slap a couple of lights. I mean, it's not a mission critical thing, but it would still be very nice to have. So I'm putting some small lights, left for red, right for green, so to give it a little bit of more realistic feeling, because not all the probes are dark. So okay, and then putting some lighting as well here. I mean, if our electric charge starts going down, we can always kill the lighting, but we have some now more power generation options, so why not use them? Okay, I'm thinking that pretty much sums it up for the construction of this probe. I'm pressing build the probe, and which brings us to the end of this episode. I guess I'll cut it here. So thank you very much for watching. Like if you liked the episode, it's a shorter one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again.